comment,
and subscribe for more content.
Where's the notification bell?
It's to the right of you.
Oh.
I wanna be the very best, like no one ever was. To catch them is my real test.
What's up, guys? Welcome to this edition of a Funko Popcast. I'm DK Wrestler.
And I'm MD Shady.
And today is our fandom-related podcast, our first one of 2021, and we're kicking it off with straight fire, no pun intended to one of the types. It's on Pokemon. That's right. Gotta catch them all. The Pokemon Podcast, the official title of this podcast for today. And in today's podcast, of course, if you are a Pokemon fan in general, because you searched up Pokemon and possibly the word podcast after that, that is great. But if you're a regular viewer that listens to our podcast because of Funko Pops, that's also great. But if you're here for both, that's just even better. We're talking every single Pokemon Funko Pop today. We are going to talk a little bit about the games and the series to kind of kick off before we talk about that, but also to end off like we do with every fandom related podcast is what Funko Pops we want to see next in said lineup. So today, what Pokemon Pops we want to see made by Funko in the future, which to kick off, MD, since you are a huge fan of Pokemon, what was the first ever game of Pokemon?
That I played?
No, in general, what was the first Pokemon game made?
Pokemon Red and Blue.
That, sir, is incorrect. It's technically right in a sense, but it's not. The actual first Pokemon game, and why we're celebrating the 25th anniversary, because the game was titled Pocket Monsters Red and Green, released February 27th, 1996 on the Game Boy. But if you're talking about North American release, then like MD said, it would be correct as in Pokemon Red and Blue, which was released September 28th, 1998. So about 2.5 years after the initial release of Pocket Monsters Red and Green, or now known as Pokemon. And of course, there's so many different games that had come out for Pokemon over the years. So I'm not going to go over a list of every single Pokemon game, but I will mention that as of this recording, the newest Pokemon game that was released is Pokemon Sword and Shield, that was released November 15th, 2019 on the Nintendo Switch. But we can talk about now our early memories of playing the Pokemon games and what games we kind of played. And I guess we can also talk about the anime of Pokemon, although the Funko Pops are part of the games lineup and not Pop Anime. But I will kick off with this one because I don't have much to say, honestly. I know MD's going to probably have lots of memories about playing Pokemon. So first off, I remember watching the animation of Pokemon as a kid. And there's a couple movies I also watched. I know one of them for sure was Pokemon 2000, if anyone remembers that. There was a couple games, but I know for sure, obviously, the one I can easily say is Pokemon Go. I know a lot of Pokemon fans would be mad at me for saying just Pokemon Go realistically, but I think that's really all that I've put so much effort into as terms to playing Pokemon. But I have played some Pokemon games in the past. I just can't remember which ones they were.
Yeah, considering I was born in 1997 and Pokemon kind of came up right around then, and then in North America, obviously, in 98. I can't remember a time in my life where Pokemon wasn't part of it. Yeah, it's definitely been around for a while. My first memory of playing the games was my mom had bought a Game Boy Color off of a family friend for my birthday, and I was probably turning 4 or 5 years old. Pokemon Yellow was actually the game that came with that. So Pokemon Yellow was my first introduction to Pokemon. And honestly, that's cool because, I mean, you get Pikachu at the beginning of Pokemon Yellow, and it's the same thing as Red and Blue, essentially. I say that the craziest memory I have about Pokemon, though, way back in the time when Sears was still alive, and I was at Sears with my grandmother. I kind of wandered off a little bit, and I saw there was a Pokemon Gen 1, obviously, themed like comforter bed set, and I ran over to her screaming that I needed this bed set, and then I was running to show her where it was, and I was looking back at her, and I cracked my skull open on a shelving unit from Sears. There was quite a bit of blood cracking your dome open. But then Sears was nice enough to give me some kind of stuffed animal thing, and then my grandma bought me a Psyduck remote control little toy, which was super awesome. I really loved that. So that's like my craziest Pokemon experience, I guess. The anime, the first thing I think of when I think of the anime is always Pikachu's Vacation. It's like a 20-minute short at the beginning of the first movie, I believe. It might be Pokemon 2000, I can't remember. One of those two movies, and I love that short. Very awesome. And it actually is the introduction to Togepi and Snubble, considering they are Gen 2, and you see them for the first time in that before Gen 2 was even released. So that's really cool. Yeah, definitely Pokemon Go is a huge thing right now. I mean, it's still huge. I play it literally every single day, and it takes up a lot of my free time, I guess you could say, sometimes hours at a time. Yeah, Pokemon is just crazy. I have tons of the cards. I have a lot of Pokemon collectibles. I wish I would have had kept a lot of the stuff that I used to have as a kid, but I gave it to my cousin as I started growing out of it. But that was only for a couple of years because Pokemon's pretty much been in my life forever.
So I want to add before we continue on with the podcast that for this podcast, we do not get to talk about the Emerald City Comic Con 2021 exclusives that were announced due to the fact that we did record this podcast on the 12th, I believe, of February. And the announcements didn't happen until, I want to say, the 18th of when the Pokemon Pops were announced. So the Diamond Collection Charmander and the Diamond Collection Vaporeon, which those will be discussed on next week's edition of a Funko Podcast. So stay tuned for that. But other than that, let's continue on with this fandom-related podcast. All right, so we can move on now to talking about the Funko Pops, which how this podcast is basically going to be divided is by different types of Pokemon, which I think, if I'm not mistaken, there's only 6 or 7 types that Funko has made as terms to the Funko Pops so far from everything that they've done. So kicking off, because we're going to go in the order of Pokedex, is going to be grass type. There is only one Pokemon that is made with different variants for the grass type, which is, of course, Bulbasaur, which little description about Bulbasaur as provided by Pokemon.com. The category that Bulbasaur is under is Seed, which it's not only a grass type, but also is a poison type. So it's a mix of both of those. Number 1 in the Kanto region and also number 1 overall in the Pokedex. It evolves into Ivysaur and Venusaur. Weaknesses are Fire, Psychic, Flying, and Ice type. So, of course, like I mentioned, there is the 4-inch Bulbasaur that was one of the first Pokemon Pops to release. But later on, there was a Target exclusive 10-inch variant of Bulbasaur, followed by a 4-inch Bulbasaur that was flocked, that was an Emerald City Comic Con 2020, shared with Amazon exclusive. And then in one of the newest lineups that are coming out as of this recording is a silver metallic Bulbasaur. So I guess I'm going to go first and then you'll go next for this. These Bulbasaur Pops are pretty cool. Besides the fact that I don't know why they made the flocked variant, I understand in the sense that they probably made the flocked variant because they know that because Bulbasaur is a starter Pokemon, it's going to sell. I hate the silver metallic variants. I think I've said this before on editions of a Funko Podcast. I hate them. Normal one is cool, and the 10-inch is cool in the sense of if it's accurate to the size of the Pokemon, which I didn't research what the actual like size of the Pokemon were. I remember seeing, I think Pikachu is actually like a foot tall, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Bulbasaur is pretty cool. It's not really one of my favorite Pokemon in general, but the pop is pretty cool.
Yeah, I really enjoy the Bulbasaur pop as well. I actually don't mind the flocked version. I know that there's a little bit of controversy over which Pokemon pops should be flocked, but I honestly kind of really enjoy the flocked Pokemon pops no matter what, even if it doesn't really make sense. I don't know why, because yeah, it definitely doesn't need to be flocked, but again, like you said, it does make sense to be flocked. And to answer your question, I have my little Pokemon binder out of Gen 1 cards, and Bulbasaur is billed at 2 feet 4 inches.
Damn.
I don't know if that's length or actual like height from belly to bulb, I guess you could say. But yeah, he's a big boy, especially when you see Venusaur, who's 6'7".
6'7". Geez, that means Venusaur is taller than me.
Yeah.
Jeez. And I know on Pokemon.com, they did list what the size were. I just didn't write them down for some reason. I don't know why, but they did list them on Pokemon.com in case anyone was wondering. But I guess that's now time to move on to Fire type. Fire type will be the next one as shown for the Pokedex, but there's more than just one kind of fire type that's in this set of pops. So kicking off with essentially the first fire type Pokemon, it is Charmander. So of course, Charmander is classified as a lizard. It's number 4 in the Kanto region and number 4 overall. It evolves into Charmeleon and Charizard. Its weakness, like all fire types, are water, ground, and rock. So we got the 4-inch common Charmander that released in 2019, followed by a Target exclusive 10-inch variant of Charmander. And then last year at Emerald City Comic Con 2020, we have a flocked variant of Charmander that was shared to Walmart. Then moving on, we got ourselves Vulpix. Vulpix is classified as a fox. It's number 37 in the Kanto region, evolves into Ninetales, in which Vulpix has a normal 4-inch variant that released last year, along with a flocked variant that was a San Diego Comic Con 2020 shared with EB Games / GameStop. And then I think released late last year was a Target exclusive 10-inch Vulpix. Then we go on to Growlithe, which is considered as a puppy. It's number 58 in the Kanto region, evolves into Arcanine. There is a normal variant of Growlithe along with a flocked variant that was a New York Comic Con 2020 shared with Box Lunch exclusive. Then we move on to Ponyta, which is classified as a fire horse, number 77 in the Kanto region, evolves into Rapidash. Then we go on to the last pop for the fire types that have been made so far is Flareon, which Flareon is classified as flame according to Pokemon.com. It's number 136 in the Kanto region. Its pre-evolution is Eevee. I like Charmander, probably the best out of all of the starter Pokemons, only because I love Charizard, and obviously Charmander has to evolve into Charmeleon into Charizard, so I do have respect for Charmander in that aspect. I did like Charmander in the animation of Pokemon. The Charmanders are pretty cool. I like the detail involving not only the mouth that is with the Charmander pop, but also of course, the 10-inch variant is cool. I'm sure people bought a lot of that. And then we're back at that flocking stage where it kind of doesn't make sense that it's flocked because it is a lizard, and lizard is more of like a scaly effect. But like I mentioned about Bulbasaur, it's a starter Pokemon, and Funko knows that it's going to sell because it's one of the most popular Pokemon. Then we go to Vulpix. I don't really care about Vulpix all too much. Like, I don't hate Vulpix, but it's not like one of the first Pokemon I think of that it's like, oh man, I love these Pokemon. But I know there's a lot of people that do like Vulpix, and a flocked variant does make sense for Vulpix because, of course, it is a fox. Fox have fur. Growlithe is cool. I like the design of Growlithe. I kind of like the flocked one better than the common variant. Not because, of course, it's flocked, but I feel like the fact that the flocking actually makes the colors a little different. Like the orange just looks really nice, and especially the beige type color. That pop turned out really, really nicely for the flocking. Then we got Ponyta, which I've mentioned on the podcast before that Ponyta looks more like a My Little Pony pop than it does a Pokemon. Ponyta is an all right Pokemon, in my opinion. And then we got Flareon, which I kind of also see being a flocked variant in the future. Flareon is probably one of the better looking evolution pops that Funko has made. It is a really nice looking pop compared to some of the Pokemon pops that we've gotten.
Yeah, the Charmanders are really cool. I really enjoy them. I think they're super accurate. I mean, the heads are a little bit big compared to a Charmander head, but obviously, since it's a Funko Pop, that makes sense. So the Charmanders are really, really well done, and it kind of gets me excited to see what else they can do with the Charmander lineup, speaking Charmeleon and Charizard. And hopefully we do get glow-in-the-dark versions of all three of those Pokemon eventually, because I think it just makes sense. When you think of a fire-type Pokemon, I think you're definitely going to think of Charizard or even Charmander, so I think it needs a glow-in-the-dark version. I really enjoy the flocked Vulpix. It's the first kind of pop that we've talked about that, yeah, it does make sense to be flocked, but at the same time, like I said previously, I do enjoy all the flocking on the Pokemon pops. Making it a 10-inch is kind of weird. I could see where the hype would be because I know that there is a fan base for Vulpix, but I'm honestly just not really interested in collecting the 10-inch Pokemon pops. It's just a variant of a pop that you already have, which is essentially exactly the same, and those boxes take up a lot of space, especially when they're the wider shaped boxes. Growlithe is also amazing. Yeah, I do agree with you with what you said about the flocking. It does change the color and makes it a little bit darker, a little bit more vibrant, which is pretty cool and a super accurate pop again. Ponyta is a little bit weird, but I also enjoy it, and I'm glad that they made it this early instead of waiting a while. And then, last but not least, we have Flareon, which, yeah, this is an alright pop. I definitely enjoy this one, and I really like the Evolutions pops, but this one is definitely solid.
All right, so now we're going to move on to water type Pokemon, which, if I'm not mistaken, that seems to be whenever I hear about Pokemon fans' favorite type or whenever they go for a starter Pokemon, it's always the water type. And so kicking off is the starter of a water type Pokemon, which is Squirtle. Squirtle is classified as a tiny turtle, number 7 in the Kanto region, and of course, number 7 overall in the Pokedex. It evolves into Wartortle and then Blastoise. And its weakness, like all of the water type Pokemons, are grass and electric. Squirtle was, of course, a 4-inch variant when it was first released in 2019, but of course, later on was released as a 10-inch variant that was exclusive to Target. And then we ended up getting a flocked variant of Squirtle as a part of a Pokemon's collector's box that was EB Games / GameStop exclusive. Then we got ourselves Psyduck, which is one of the newly released or newly announced at least Funko Pops for the Pokemon lineup, which of course it's classified as a duck. It's number 54 in the Kanto region. It evolves into Golduck. Then we got ourselves Vaporeon, which will be the last water type to discuss about, which is classified as Bubble Jet. It's number 134 in the Kanto region and the Pokedex overall. Its pre-evolution is Eevee. Squirtle. Squirtle. That'd be a cool pop to see in the future, Squirtle Squad, but that's more of the anime. Squirtle is a really cool Funko Pop. I actually kind of think that even though like I personally like Charmander as like my favorite of the starters, I feel like as terms to the overall design of the Funko Pops, that Squirtle may be the best one of the starter ones just because of how everything is, including the shell. The shell looks really good. And I love the way that they made the mouth. The 10-inch variant, really cool. And then the flocked variant, a lot of people were complaining about the flocked variant when this was first kind of, I wouldn't say announced, but kind of like leaked and released with the Pokemon collector's box set, because it kind of doesn't make sense for a turtle, but it kind of does because there are some turtles out there that have like the tiniest of hairs that pop up. But of course, it's still an all right pop. Psyduck, so many people are so pumped for a Psyduck pop. It's one of the most requested Pokemon that people have been wanting. However, I feel it's a little overrated, not as terms to the character or the Pokemon, because Psyduck is a super popular character. I liked Psyduck in not only the animation, but I was a fan of Psyduck. If anyone has seen the Detective Pikachu movie, Psyduck was cool in that movie. But like I mentioned, I'm not a fan of the Funko Pop because I feel like there should be more that is done with the Funko Pop instead of, his arms to the side. I think MD's mentioned before what he should do, but I know he'll probably repeat that when he discusses about Psyduck. But it's still cool that they made Psyduck into Funko Pop form, though. Then we got ourselves Vaporeon, which is 100% the best evolution pop that Funko made. It's so awesome. It's kind of a different sculpt compared to the other ones that they made, because the sculpts that they used for Flareon and then Jolteon kind of have that Eevee stance that has been a remold from the other Eevee pops. But this is kind of a newer mold in a way because you've got the tail added to it, and even the head sculpt is basically different. Definitely, in my opinion, though, it is the best water type Pokemon pop that Funko's made so far.
So it's actually pretty funny that you said that when you talk about Pokemon fans that they usually say that water type is their favorite starter. Besides choosing Pikachu, obviously, in Pokemon Yellow, I am definitely a water type. I always go for water. Squirtle was one of my favorite Pokemon for a long time because, I don't know, he kind of just carried me through the original games, which was super fun. And yeah, I love him. I also really enjoy the flocked one, like I said, because I don't really have a problem with them doing these variants because I do like them. And yeah, I would agree that this is probably the best starter that we've seen so far as terms of the Funko Pop. There's just a little bit more detail put into the Squirtle with his shell and his underbelly than you get with Charmander and Bulbasaur, I guess. Then moving on to Psyduck. Yeah, I really enjoy this pop, but like you were saying that I had something to mention, I did talk about this before, but if they could have found a way to have his arms and hands kind of grabbing his head rather than just down at his side, it would make a lot of sense. Psyduck is always going through headaches and migraines, so it would have just made sense. This pop kind of looks a little plain without any added things like that. It's literally just like he's standing rather than doing something, whereas you kind of get a little bit more dynamic poses with these other pops that we've talked about. And then Vaporeon, my favorite evolution, because of course I am a water type trainer, I guess you could say. This thing is gorgeous. This is one of the best Pokemon pops to date so far, I would say. A lot of detail. The pose is great. And I think in Funko Pop form, it just makes a lot of sense. It just looks so good.
All right, the next type we are going to be talking about is normal type Pokemon. So, kicking off in order for Pokedex reasons is Rattata. So, Rattata is classified as a mouse, number 19 in the Kanto region. It evolves into Raticate, and its weakness, like all normal types, are fighting. Then going on to Meowth, which is classified as a Scratch Cat, number 52 in the Kanto region, evolves into Persian. Then we got ourselves the last normal type Pokemon, which is Eevee. Eevee is classified as evolution, number 133 in the Kanto region. Eevee evolves into Vaporeon, Jolteon, Flareon, Espeon, Umbreon, Leafeon, Glaceon, and Sylveon, which is a lot of Pokemon that it evolves into, which of course, actually before we have the normal variant that was ended up being released in 2020, in 2019, we actually had the 10-inch variant exclusive to Target released before that, which is weird because normally we get the 4-inch variants releasing before the 10-inch variants. Then Eevee also has a flocked variant that was a WonderCon 2020 shared to Hot Topic exclusive. And then we have ourselves a Stance Eevee that was announced along with the Evolution Pops late last year. So first off, we have Rattata. Rattata was a little surprising when this was first announced because I didn't think that Funko would make, like, I wouldn't say, I guess maybe Rattata is a little unpopular. I don't think a lot of people would think of Rattata as like, wow, I want a Rattata pop off the top of my head. But I can say that out of that set that was announced with Rattata, which I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, that was with Growlithe, Grumpy Pikachu, and Cubone, that it was pretty much the most detailed pop out of those 4 pops. And even with the mouth, it's so cool. So I can't wait actually to see how Funko ends up doing a Raticate pop in the future. Then we got Meowth, which I probably will have to say is my favorite Pokemon pop that Funko has made so far, only because my favorite Pokemon has not been made into Funko Pop form yet. But not only that, going into making this podcast, before this was announced, I was ready to put this on my list of Pokemon pops that I want to see made next by Funko. And the fact that Funko had made Meowth, I guess I would say this early on, even though the Pokemon lineup has been going on for, I would say almost 3 years now. I want to say 2018 was the beginning, but like as terms to actual full on sets would have been like 2020, and they did singular pops in 2019. It is great, of course, because Meowth does have a huge popularity as terms to the animation. I think that's kind of why they did Meowth in a way for the Pokemon set. But I do feel like, although I didn't really play the games much, I do feel like Meowth was still an important piece to Pokemon as terms to the games also. And I can't wait until they make a flocked variant of Meowth because I will definitely buy that. And then we got the different versions of Eevee, which of course there's the 10-inch variant, the 4-inch variant, the flocked variant, and then you have the Stance Eevee, which all of them are pretty cool. I like the expression on Eevee's face in the Stance version. Really, really nice. It brings out kind of how Eevee is. But I definitely think the best one out of the ones is probably the flocked variant. It was really cool to see the flocked variant, and I actually got to review the flocked variant on our channel when we got WonderCon pops in for a mail call, which I'll put a little suggestion thingy above for that video. Really nice. The flocked variant, basically going to say the same thing like I did with the Growlithe, is that it makes the colors more a little dark, but stand out better than you would see in the common variant, which I really enjoy about this flocked variant of Eevee.
Starting with Rattata, I really enjoy this. I think it looks good. And it's funny that you called it a mouse Pokemon because at least on the original cards, it is listed as a rat type Pokemon.
Yeah, I don't know. They randomly said on Pokemon.com for some reason said mouse. I was surprised too. I thought it would say like rat.
Yeah, that's kind of an interesting little thing. I don't know if they decided to change that at some point in time because obviously the cards are pretty old, 99, I think. But yeah, I really enjoy the Rattata. I think it looks great. The expression looks really cool considering we don't see mouths on a lot of Pokemons. Seeing one that looks this good with kind of his, I guess you could call it his snout. I guess a mouse kind of has a snout. This thing just looks wicked. It is a little bit of a smaller pop, but obviously rats and mice are small. And then Meowth, this is great. I really enjoy the pose on this. The mouth looks really good again with those little teeth. And yeah, there's just a lot of subtle detail, I guess, with this pop that makes it so good. And I do agree it is one of the best that we've seen so far. I hope we get a flocked one of this very soon. The 10-inch EV, yeah, I remember seeing this and I was like, okay, I'm not going to buy that because I've decided not to collect the 10-inch Pokemon Pops, but where's the 4-inch? And then, of course, we did get the 4-inch, which I do own and I do like. And then you have the flocked Eevee, which is also really, really great. You guys know my opinion on flocked Pops. And then the stance pose Eevee, I don't like this. It's not that I don't like the pop because I do think the pop looks good, but I just don't think it's needed. I think I would have preferred to see a new Pokemon in the lineup, I guess, instead of this standing kind of like in an attack form, I guess you could say, Eevee. So yeah, it was just kind of a mistake by Funko, I guess, in my opinion.
All right, so moving on, we're talking about electric type Pokemon, which is probably going to be the biggest selection of Funko Pops that we discuss, only because one of the characters has like 10 variants, which of course everyone should know what I'm talking about at this point, which is Pikachu, which Pikachu is classified as a mouse. It's number 25 in the Kanto region. Its pre-evolution is Pichu, and it evolves into Raichu, and its weakness, like all electric types, are ground. And of course, Pikachu has a lot of variants, kicking off with the original Pikachu Pop released in 2018. That was a Target exclusive. Then we got ourselves the 10-inch variant of Pikachu that was released in late 2018. Then in 2019, we had gotten the Waving Pikachu that was a common. Then we got ourselves the flocked variant of Pikachu that was a part of the collector's box, along with Squirtle that was exclusive to EB Games / GameStop. Then we got Grumpy Pikachu, which was also released with a flocked variant later on. That was a New York Comic Con shared with Target exclusive. We have an 18-inch Pikachu, a silver metallic Pikachu, an attack stance Pikachu that was announced at Funko Fair along with Meowth and the silver Bulbasaur and the Psyduck. And then the newest announced pop as of this recording is the silver metallic Pikachu. That is a 10-inch pop that will be a Target Con 2021 exclusive. Then we got ourselves Raichu, which is classified as a mouse. It is number 26 in the Kanto region. Its pre-evolutions are Pichu and Pikachu. Then we got ourselves Jolteon, which is classified as lightning. It's number 135 in the Kanto region. Its pre-evolution is Eevee. And then the last pop to discuss about in the electric type section of this podcast is Pichu, which is actually the first and only Gen 2 Pokemon that Funko has made, and the only one that we're going to be able to discuss about. Classified as a mouse, it's number 172 overall in the Pokedex, but it is a part of the Johto region, which I didn't get to catch what exact number it is in that region. It evolves into Pikachu and then Raichu, which there was a common variant, and then there was a flocked variant that was a WonderCon 2020 shared with FYE exclusive. So kicking off with the Pikachu, of course, Pikachu had to be made. It deserved to be the first Pokemon pop, but I don't think they should have had so many different variants of Pikachu. I mean, I don't care that there's different variants of Pikachus. I just don't think there should have been as many variants as there is now. Like, if I'm not mistaken, if I'm counting right, 1, 2, 3, like 10. I'm pretty sure like 10 or 11 different variants of Pikachu when those slots could have been saved for probably some Pokemon that we're going to be discussing about of what we want to see next in the Pokemon lineup. Of course, I like the original variant. That obviously should have happened. And then I feel like maybe that and then maybe Grumpy. I don't know. Like the normal Pikachu, and I feel like one other variant that they've made should have been the only Pikachu molds and designs that we've gotten, but we got 11 different variants, and especially a silver metallic pop, which I hate the fact that they made a silver metallic one, especially a 10-inch silver metallic Pikachu pop. But of course, Funko is going to milk the hell out of Pikachu because he's the mascot of Pokemon, and a lot of people are going to buy Pikachu pops, so it's totally understandable, but wish there was more than just Pikachus. Then we got Raichu, which I've kind of always been a fan of Raichu better than Pikachu in a way, just because of the way that it looks, especially with the tail. I like the way the tail is. And even like the colors that are on it, like that orange and the brown and the yellow kind of like mixing together looks really, really nice on Raichu. Then we got Jolteon, which is the least favorite of the evolutions. There's something about Jolteon that I can't exactly explain, but you look at it and it's like it doesn't scream out Jolteon. I can't exactly explain what it is, but I look at this, it's like, all right, it says Jolteon on the box, but it's like it just doesn't look like Jolteon in a way. I mean, I think the best part is maybe the ears, but like the rest of it, it's like, I think maybe it might be the eyes. Like they should have done the eyes slightly different, but that's all I can kind of look at to see, like, okay, that's what they could have done different to make it better. And then Pichu. Pichu looks really nice, especially the flocked variant looks really nice. I've seen the flocked variant in person. It brings out that yellow and even the pink blush on the cheeks really nicely on this pop, and they did a really good job on the flocked Pichu.
I definitely agree with you. There is way too many Pikachu pops. Is it a bad thing? I don't really know because it does make a lot of sense. Pikachu's the mascot of the company, and people are obviously going to buy these. But I don't know, like there's just so many of that normal variant, I guess, like the common pop, I guess you could say, or the first Pikachu. So many variants of just that mold alone. Whereas you have the 10-inch, you have the 18-inch, you have the flocked, and then you have obviously the silver metallics now, which are the same pose as that one. I definitely don't like the new thing that they're doing with the metallics for the anniversary, but at the same time, I think I probably will get the 4-inch of at least one of them because the sticker that's on the box celebrating the anniversary. I don't really like the grumpy Pikachu. I don't know. It's kind of cool, but I think it's unneeded. I enjoy the waving Pikachu for the reason of the ears being like that, because you do see Pikachu's ears like that a lot more often now with his, like, I guess you could call it with skinny Pikachu, because Pikachu used to be a chunky boy back in the day. And then you have the attack pose, which I just really hate this pop because one, I think it's unneeded, and two, I think it's misdone. I think they should have had it where there was just lightning all around the pop and it was glow in the dark. And then I would be more intrigued to buy that pop, but I don't know if I'll ever end up buying that because of that reason. Raichu's really cool. I really enjoy this. Yeah, Raichu is a pretty cool evolution. It's one of those ones where it's like, okay, either you really love Pikachu or you definitely want to evolve him and get that sweet Raichu. So this pop does look good. And then the horrendous Jolteon. Yeah, I don't know what it is about this pop. There's just something about it that is so off. I don't know if it's the eyes. I think it's just a little bit of everything kind of just throws this one off. And he looks a little too happy, whereas when you normally see Jolteon, he's getting low to the ground, ready to strike, and he has kind of a menacing face, whereas this one kind of just looks like he's ready to frolic through some flowers or something with his little brother Eevee. Then Pichu, yeah, it's the only Gen 2 Pokemon we have. I agree that that's how it should be until we have all 151 Gen 1 Pokemon, just because obviously it's Pichu. People love Pichu, and it is the baby Pokemon to Pikachu, the mascot. So it makes a lot of sense. I really do like that flocked one. And like you said, with the blush on the cheeks, it pulls the whole pop together and looks really, really good.
All right, so coming up next, which I might as well mention both of these types just because there's not many throughout both of them. So we'll mention both at the same time, which is both psychic type and ground type, which will be the last set of types that Funko end up having in the Pokemon lineup so far. So kicking off with psychic type Pokemon, we got ourselves Mr. Mime, which is classified as Barrier, which is both a psychic and fairy type. It's number 122 in the Kanto region, and its pre-evolution is Mime Jr., and its weakness is Ghost, Steel, and Poison. Next up, we have the ever so popular Mewtwo, which is classified as genetic, number 150 in the Kanto region. Its weakness is Ghost, Dark, and Bug, which Mewtwo also has its own flocked variant that was a San Diego Comic-Con shared with Funko Shop exclusive. And then we have a Target exclusive 10-inch Mewtwo. And then the last pop for the psychic type is the ever so popular Mew, which is classified as new species, and it's number 151 in the Kanto region, the last Pokemon in that region. which its weakness is Ghost, Dark, and Bug, which is the same thing for Mewtwo. And then we go on to Ground type, which there's only one Pokemon, but two variants for Ground type, which is Cubone. It's classified as Lonely. It's number 104 in the Kanto region. It evolves into Marowak, and then its weakness is Water, Grass, and Ice. And there is also not only the 4-inch variant, but there's also a 10-inch variant of Cubone that was a Target exclusive. So kicking off with Mr. Mime. Mr. Mime, I feel, is a super underrated, not only Pokemon, but a super underrated Funko Pop because a lot of people weren't a fan of when Funko announced the certain wave of pops that this was involved with. And people were like, why was Mr. Mime a part of this? We should have gotten this. We should have gotten this instead of Mr. Mime. But it's honestly one of the most detailed pops that Funko has made. I love the detail with Mr. Mime's hands and especially like the fingertips and how it's like got the dots on them. And his whole outfit and even the facial expression looks so cool. It's in, of course, mime form. So it's like, I love how it's kind of like showing like the whole I'm stuck in a box and the fact that pops are in boxes when you first buy them. So it totally makes sense that they did this. And I think it looks excellent. Mewtwo is awesome. I love how with the Pokemon pops, although a lot of them look super tiny when you take them out of the box, they make Mewtwo look huge compared to the other Pokemon because that's exactly how Mewtwo is. He's much bigger than all the Pokemon, and just the way that they did the pose and the tail and everything, even the facial expression, definitely one of the best Pokemon pops that Funko has made. And of course, they did make the flocked variant because of the same reason that I mentioned about the starter types. It's a super popular Pokemon. They know that Mewtwo is going to sell, and I'm sure they're going to do the same thing with Mew, which I guess I'll talk about next because I don't think I really have anything to say about the 10-inch Target exclusive Mewtwo because I think I'd probably say the same thing is that it probably looks way bigger than the other 10-inch Pokemon pops. The Mew looks awesome. I think it's actually the first and only Pokemon as of this recording that is in a flying stance and that it's attached to a stand, which I think it's really cool and it's well done because Mew is known for flying all over the place, especially if you've seen the Mewtwo Strikes Back film, whether it's the original one from I think it's 98 or you've seen the like re-released updated CGI like 2019 Netflix version of Mewtwo Strikes Back. You see Mew flying all over the place and Mew looks awesome. I love that they added blue eyes instead of putting like the normal like black eyes on a Funko Pop. And it's also because Mew has the blue eyes, but usually a lot of times there are certain Pokemons that have like a sort of an eye colors, but they go with like the pupil more than the eye color. Like example, a lot of people were kind of complaining when Bulbasaur first released that it should have been red eyes instead of being the black eyes. But I'm glad they went with blue eyes for Mew instead of going the black eyes. The blue makes everything stand out on this Funko Pop. Then we got Cubone, super popular Pokemon. It's also kind of an underrated Pokemon, but it is popular in a sense. I love how they ended up doing the mask and how he's holding the bone in his hand.
Yeah, I do agree with you that Mr. Mime is an underrated Pokemon pop. I mean, it looks so good. There's a lot of detail there. And yeah, the way they did the fingertips and everything, this whole pop, there's just not really a flaw with this pop, which is really, really nice because pretty much every other Pokemon pop has some sort of flaw besides, I guess, Meowth and Vaporeon would be the only ones that I couldn't pick out a flaw with. Mewtwo is really cool. And yeah, he does stand really tall, which is nice because obviously he is like the size of a human, so it makes a lot of sense. I'm starting to like the flocked version more and more. At first, when it first got announced, it was like, what the heck? Why the hell is this flocked? It makes no sense. But I kind of really enjoy it now. And I mean, no one's ever touched a Mewtwo in real life. So how would you know what he feels like exactly? And then Mew. Mew is fantastic. Again, there's not really a flaw with this pop. I would like to see it with black eyes just to see how that would look, but I really do enjoy the blue eyes. It is the first Pokemon pop we've seen with a different color pupil, which is nice, besides if you count the silver metallic pops, but those are just garbage. We don't talk about those. But yeah, Mew looks great. I love how it's on the base where it's flying because yeah, you don't really think of a time where Mew is like standing on the ground or like sitting at all. He's always floating in the air. So yeah, just a gorgeous pop. And then Cubone, yeah, it is kind of weird how they list him as a lonely type Pokemon, but at the same time, it makes sense because Cubone's mother was killed, and apparently the lore is that the mask that he wears is actually the skull of his deceased mother. So kind of a little bit morbid and dark, but yeah, he definitely is a lonely guy. In the original games, at least you get to help him out a bit at some point. So that's good. The pop itself is great. I've always been a huge Cubone fan. I actually 3D printed a Cubone mask and I would put it on my hamster. It's just so awesome. I love Cubone's design, so it really came through well in pop design.
All right, so I guess it's now time. We've talked about all of the Pokemon pops. Going on to what Pokemon Funko Pops we want to see made in the future. Now, usually I let MD go first, but I'm going to go first only because I only have 5 listed down. And I know MD probably has a bunch listed down, way more than I do. So I thought I'd go first since I have a little bit, but I made sure when I listed my Pokemon Pops down that I kept MD's pop out of that list because I know he would definitely want to mention his favorite Pokemon that hasn't been made into Funko Pop form either. So I'll start off with my favorite Pokemon that has not been made into Funko Pop form yet, and my favorite Pokemon overall, which is Charizard. I want Funko to make a Charizard pop. It needs to happen. A lot of people want Charizard. Charizard would look so good in Funko Pop form. Just the overall design. I would love for there to be a glow in the dark variant, possibly with fire coming out of his mouth. That would be nuts. But man, there needs to be a Charizard pop. My favorite Pokemon of all time, and it's not been made into Funko Pop form yet. This next one I think would be on MD's list, but I'm going to mention it though, is Machamp. Machamp is such a cool looking Pokemon. Machamp's kind of like my go-to in Pokemon Go whenever I do like gym battles or even like Team Rocket battles. I can easily take 3 Machamps and I can beat a Team Rocket boss. No problem, because Machamp is just that good with his fighting type. And we haven't had a fighting type Pokemon yet, so it'd be cool to get a fighting type Pokemon soon. And I feel like one of the first fighting types needs to be Machamp, because I think Machamp is also like a really popular Pokemon that I feel like a lot of people really want into Funko Pop form, and especially Machamp with like his 4 arms, I believe, and he's got like the wrestler's look, which I think is kind of why I like Machamp also, is because as a wrestling fan and a wrestler myself, and then he kind of looks like a wrestler and has like a title belt around him. I just think the overall design of Machamp would look sweet, especially make him a 6-inch pop. That would be sweet. Next pop I've listed, I might as well mention this one, is Persian. Huge fan of Meowth, so I feel like I would definitely get Persian just because it's the evolution of Meowth, and I feel like if you have one, you should get the other. So Persian would be cool, especially a flocked variant, and I think it would look pretty cool in Funko Pop form. This next one I have listed, it's either a Gen 3 or Gen 4 Pokemon, and it's Infernape, which is the, I think, last evolution to Chimchar, I'm pretty sure. Can you confirm that, MD? Is that right? Chimchar?
Yeah, you're correct.
Okay, so the overall design of Infernape, I look at him and I'm like, man, that would look cool as a Funko Pop. Just the overall design of Infernape and the way he looks and like the flames that are on him, just they look really, really nice. And the last pop that I have listed down, Zapdos. I feel like Funko should do legendary pops soon, but the unfortunate reality is that because it's a legendary Pokemon, I can totally see Funko making this a limited piece. One of the first limited piece Pokemon pops would be a legendary Pokemon, whether it's Zapdos, Moltres, or even Articuno. Zapdos is a really cool design, and I think he would look awesome. He would be one of those pops you would need to keep out of box, I feel, because the overall design of Zapdos is such a magnificent looking Pokemon. Imagine an 18-inch Zapdos. That'd be nuts.
Interesting. I didn't include Charizard or Machamp for the fact that I kind of figured they would be on your list. Coming in at number 10 on my list is Ditto. I think Ditto would be really cool. It is kind of a plain Pokemon, but I think it would translate super well to a Funko Pop just because it kind of already has just black, straight pupil eyes. So I think that'd be really, really cool. Then I have listed down Lickitung, kind of the same thing where the eyes are kind of just black dots. So it would look very, very well as a Funko Pop. Then I have Tangela, just because I really, really enjoy Tangela. And again, I think it would translate well to a Funko Pop. Next is Jigglypuff, and that is because Jigglypuff is kind of a fan favorite. I mean, it's been in the Super Smash Bros. Games, all of them. And this is one where I could see being done in a couple different variants, whereas you have, like, let's say maybe one that's floating and one that has the microphone and is singing. I think that would be really, really awesome. Then I have one of my favorite Pokemon listed down, and that is Dragonite. I enjoy Dragonite. I think he's cool, and especially with like his satchel mailbag, I think that pop would look super, super cool. Then I have listed down the legendary birds. I couldn't really pick one over another one, so I just listed all three of them down because I don't think they would just do one of them. I think all three of them would either come out at the same time or it'd be like con, 3 cons in a row. But yeah, those would look great. There's a lot of detail going on with the legendary birds, Articuno, Zapdos, and Moltres. Then I'm moving on to something a little different, which is a 10-inch pop, and that would be Onyx. Now, the only thing about this is I feel like they would sort of have to make a newer style box to fit an Onyx, because I wouldn't really want to see it sideways in the box unless they kind of shaped him where he's kind of in a twisted formation. But a 10-inch Onyx would be so awesome. And then keeping with the trend of 10-inch pops, I have Snorlax, which I'm actually surprised was not on your list, but Snorlax would be cool, even if they did them as like either a 6-inch or a 10-inch, but I would just love to have a huge Snorlax figure. And then coming in at number 2, this is kind of some innovation here by me, I guess you could say, and that would be a 10-inch Gyarados, but it's a pop and buddy with a Magikarp, and the Magikarp would obviously be a lot smaller than the Gyarados, and obviously Magikarp evolves into Gyarados, but I think if they were packaged together, that'd be a great way to sell them both. Obviously, I feel like a Gyarados pop would sell a lot better than a Magikarp, even though people do enjoy Magikarp for the fact that he just really isn't good, but then turns into such a great Pokemon afterwards. So a pop and buddy 10-inch, I think, is the best way to go. And then coming in at number 1, I have my favorite Pokemon of all time, and that is Gengar. Now, there's a lot of different things they could do with Gengar, which I'd be super excited about. 1, you could have just a normal Gengar pop. 2, you could have a Gengar pop where he's got a huge tongue sticking out of his mouth, kind of similar to how I would assume the Lickitung would look if they ever made a Lickitung pop. And then 3, you could have a purple, translucent, clear Gengar pop, which I would mark out huge for. I think that would be so awesome. I just love Gengar, and I really hope to see him soon. And I probably think we will be seeing him pretty soon.
All right, so that's going to be the end of this week's podcast and this fandom-related podcast. If you enjoyed this Pokemon edition of a Funko Podcast, make sure you smash that like button. Comment in the comment section below on what your favorite Pokemon pop that's been made so far, and let us know what Pokemon pops you want to see Funko make in the future. Press the subscribe button for more content like this podcast and any other videos we do in the future, and press the little bell beside it to be notified of when that future content gets released. And if you haven't yet, follow us on all of our social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at a Funko Popcast. It'll be listed in the description below. But anyways, guys, thank you for listening to this fandom-related podcast on Pokemon, and we hope to see you guys next week on a nice regular edition of a Funko Popcast. 1, 2, 3, I'm out of here.
Gengar! Peace in, peace out.